5 Scary True Weekend Getaway Horror Stories. 1. The isolated cabin. Mark and Lisa decided to spend a romantic weekend in a remote cabin deep in the woods of Montana. The rental listing advertised complete privacy, which was exactly what they wanted. However, the first night proved unsettling. They heard faint whispers outside, but whenever they checked, no one was there. By the second night, the whispers grew louder, transforming into distinct voices. Lisa swore she saw a shadow move past the window. When Mark shone a flashlight outside, they saw footprints leading up to the porch but not away from it. Panicked, they locked the doors and stayed awake all night. In the morning, they found the footprints circled their cabin repeatedly. They packed up and left immediately. Later, they learned that years ago, the cabin had been the site of an unsolved multiple murder case. 2. The creepy hotel guest. James and his wife, Sarah, checked into a quaint old hotel for a weekend getaway. They were given a room on the 3rd floor. That night, they were awoken by loud knocking on their door. When James opened it, no one was there. The knocking persisted every hour, growing more intense each time. Finally, around 3 a.m., Sarah caught a glimpse of a man standing at the end of the hallway, just staring at their door. She screamed, but he didn't move. When James ran after him, he disappeared into thin air. The next morning, they asked the front desk about the man. The receptionist turned pale and told them that years ago, a guest in their room had been murdered, and many visitors reported seeing his ghost wandering the halls. They checked out immediately. 3. The vanishing stranger. 2 college friends, Emily and Rachel, booked a lakeside cabin for a relaxing weekend. On the second day, they met a friendly older woman who invited them to her nearby home for tea. They politely declined, but she insisted they stop by. That evening, they got curious and walked to the house she had pointed out. It was dark and appeared abandoned. Confused, they knocked on the door. No answer. They peered through the windows, only to find a thick layer of dust inside as if no one had lived there in years. Returning to their cabin, they mentioned the woman to the property manager. His face turned pale. He explained that the woman they described had lived in that house but had died over a decade ago. They barely slept that night, terrified of who, or what, had invited them for tea. 4. The cabin in the storm. Ben and his brother, Josh, decided to go on a hiking trip in the Smoky Mountains. A sudden storm forced them to take shelter in an old, seemingly abandoned cabin. Inside, they found dusty furniture, cobwebs, and a strange, unsettling atmosphere. As they settled in for the night, the wind howled violently outside. But then, amid the storm, they heard distinct footsteps inside the cabin. Thinking an animal had wandered in, Ben grabbed his flashlight. As he scanned the room, they both saw something they would never forget: a tall, gaunt figure standing in the corner, staring at them. Paralyzed with fear, they bolted outside into the raging storm, running until they found the main road. Later, they learned from a park ranger that decades ago, a hermit had lived in that very cabin until he mysteriously vanished. Some say his spirit still lingers, scaring off anyone who dares to stay. 5. The motel that wasn't there. Daniel and his girlfriend, Megan, were driving through a rural area late at night when they decided to stop at a small roadside motel. The motel was old-fashioned but seemed clean, so they checked in and went to bed. In the middle of the night, Daniel woke up to a suffocating feeling, as though someone was pressing down on his chest. He struggled to move but saw nothing in the dim light. Meanwhile, Megan, still asleep, mumbled strange, unintelligible words. When he finally managed to shake her awake, she gasped and said she had dreamed of a woman standing in the room, staring at them with black, empty eyes. Frightened, they left the motel at dawn. Later, they tried to find it online but discovered that no such motel existed. In disbelief, they returned to the location but found nothing but an overgrown lot. To this day, they have no idea where they had stayed that night. These terrifying true stories prove that sometimes, a weekend getaway can turn into a nightmare. If you're planning one soon, you might want to think twice before booking a remote cabin, an old hotel, or a mysterious roadside motel.